Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining. So we continue with the overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 82nd chapter. And we seek the blessings of Shri Radha Krishna, Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna, Gauritaji, Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, to try to understand a little bit more about this incredible scripture, and also seek the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas so that we can continue instead. So this verse, Riyansh, would you like to chant this verse? This is from chapter 80.
Yes, Prajit. Kunti uvacha Aryavratarammane Atmanam Akrita Shisham Yadva Apatsu Matvartam Nanu Smarata Satamaha. Translation: Queen Kunti said, "My dear respectable brother, I feel that my desires have been frustrated because although all of you are most saintly, you forget me during a calamities."
So this is a very interesting comment by Kunti Mata, and we'll see the context of this in a little bit. So this chapter is entitled Krishna and Balaram Meet the Inhabitants of Vrindavan, and he describes how the Yadavas and the many other kings met at Kurukshetra during a solar eclipse, and it discusses topics concerning Krishna. That chapter also relates how Krishna met Nanda Maharaj and the other residents of Vrindavan at Kurukshetra and gave them great joy. So what happened? There was going to be a total eclipse of the sun, and it was going to take place very soon. So people from all over Bharatvarsh, including the Yadavas, converged at Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is in Haryana, which is North Bharat, about 100 miles or so north of Delhi. They converged at Kurukshetra to earn special pious credit. Among those arriving at the holy place were many Vrishnis such as Gada, Padumna, Samba, hoping to be relieved of their sins. Akrura, Vasudev, Ahuka, and other kings also went there. Aniruddha remained in Dwaka with Suchandra, Sukha, and Sarana to guard the city together with Kritavarma, the commander of their armed forces. So this is a solar eclipse. It's a total eclipse of the sun. After ridding the earth of the kings, Lord Parshuram created huge lakes from the king's blood at Samantak Panchak. Although he is never tainted by karmic reactions. Lord Parshuram performed sacrifices here in Kurukshetra to instruct people in general. Thus he acted like an ordinary person trying to free himself of sins. From all parts of Bharatvarsh, a great number of people now came to that Samanta Panchak on pilgrimage. So this is one of the things that's done at the time of the solar eclipse, bathing in the holy waters there. At Samantak Panchak, the Yadavas bathed and observed a fast. Afterwards, they presented Brahmins with cows bedecked with garments, flower garlands, and gold necklaces. Then, with the permission of Lord Krishna, the Vrishnis ate breakfast. They then noticed that the kings of Matsya, Ushina, and other places had also come, as well as Nanda Maharaj. and the cowherd community of Braj, who are always feeling the intense anxiety of separation from Krishna. The Yadavs, overjoyed to see all these old friends, embraced them one by one as they shared tears of happiness. Their wives also embraced one another with great pleasure. When Queen Kunti saw her brother Vasudeva and the other members of her family, she put aside her sorrow. Yet, still, she said to Vasudeva, so this is the verse that we read, "Oh brother, I am so unfortunate because all of you who are most saintly forgot me during my tribulations." So, and then she continued, alas, even one's relatives, even children, brothers and parents, forget a person whom providence no longer favors. So this is a really important instruction. We shouldn't feel comfortable in this world because this world is not a place of comfort. Anything can change at any moment. Who knows? Who can tell? Circumstances can change. Our bodies can change. There's no guarantee. And if we're thinking we're safe, that's an illusion. In one sense, we are safe because we've taken shelter of the Supreme Lord. But if we're taking shelter of material nature, if we're taking shelter of our material relationships, then we should understand that we're going to have a problem. Because this world is full of change. At any moment, everything can change. Anyway, what does Vasudeva say to his sister? My dear sister, everyone is merely a plaything of fate. We Yadavs were so harassed by Kams that we were forced to scatter and take shelter in foreign lands. So there was no way for us to keep in touch with you. So Vasudeva is explaining to Kunti Mata, yes, we do feel sorry for you, but what could we do? We were helpless. So interesting dialogue between two wonderful devotees of the Lord, Kunti Mata and Vasudeva. So the king's present was struck with wonder upon beholding Lord Shri Krishna. The royalty present included Bhishma, Drona, Dhatarashtra, Gandhari and her sons, the Pandavas and their wives, Kunti, Sanjay, Vidur, Kripacharya, Kunti Bhoj, Virat, Bhishmaka, and the great Nagajit, Purujit, Drupad, Salya, Dastaketu, Kashiraj, Damagosh, Visha, Laksha, Maitila, Madra, Kekaya, Yudha, Manu, Shusharma, Bhaklika, and with their associates and their sons, and many other kings subservient to Maharaj Yudhishthira. All of them were simply amazed to see the transcendental form of Lord Krishna, the abode of all opulence and beauty, standing before them with their consorts. Now Bhagavatam is not in a chronological order, because before this we read about the battle of Kurukshetra, how Balaram tried to stop the fight between Bhima and Duryodhana. But here we see that during this eclipse, the kings who fought in that battle, like Virat and sons of Dhatarashtra, etc., they came to this Kurukshetra, the time of the eclipse. So Bhagavatam is not necessarily a historical chronology of events. It's these topics are picked according to the mood of Shukadeva Goswami, who is being questioned by Parikshit Maharaj. So it's important to understand that, otherwise it gets a little confusing. After Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna had liberally honored them with great joy and enthusiasm, these kings began to praise the personal associates. They began to glorify the Yadavas for having gotten the Lord's personal, rarely visible even to great yogis. And thus she is raining down on us the fulfillment of all of our desires. The Lord has entered into marital and blood relationships with you. Indeed, in these relationships, you see and touch him directly, walk beside him, converse with him, and together with him, lie down to rest, sit at ease and take your meals. So this is really absolutely extraordinary. So the kings were just glorifying the Yadavas for having Krishna as their personal associate. Seeing Nand Maharaj position was even higher than the others. Each of them embraced joy and remembered how, when Vasudeva was tormented by Kamsa, Nand had taken it, embraced and bowed down to Mother Yashoda. That must have been incredible. And they could say nothing to her. Nand and Yashoda lifted their and in this way they relieved the distress of separation. Rohini friendships she had shown them told her could not be repaid even with the wealth of Indra. Each other. Because nowadays we tend to want to find fault. But it's very important. While gazing at their beloved Krishna, creator of their eyelids, which would momentarily block Krishna again after such a long separation. With their eyes, they took him into their satisfaction. Then the Supreme Lord approached young cowherd girls in a secluded, that he is all pervasive, being the source of all energies. To be separated from him, having been at long last reunited, manifested in their hearts. So these are amazing. Part of the Bhagavatam, Krishna is explaining. He's never away from us. We're never alone. In this world, we never. Of course, to perceive that, to understand that, is not easy. Theoretical understanding. hopefully you can understand at some point. Proper realization. So that's the end of the chapter. Any questions? Any?
Kurukshetra. It's not mentioned. I don't know.
I think she did, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I think she did. I think this is a little bit like the Rath Yatra, I think. Although I'm not so sure whether they take him back to Vrindavan at this time or whether. I think Radharani would not have missed the opportunity to be there.
That we sort of know Paramatma is in our heart and we look towards the Paramatma, but they say because Paramatma is there in the heart, so near to us. But it's a Paramatma is worshipped by the no yogis, sorry.
Yes.
They visualize the four-headed form of praying to the Paramatma because it's so near to us and he's within us.
Yeah, for sure. Who can perceive him in, but because the
Okay.
The doctor's office. Okay, sorry about that. So, sorry, where were we then?
On the Paramatma form.
Because Paramatma is already realized for them, because their bhaktas Paramatma and of course the Lord himself, the Supreme Personality of God, encouraged to approach the Paramatma, because as you say, take advantage of that wonderful association of the Lord. So
I did, one of the sort of the manner chaired classes, chapter of Gita a day. That's when, their opinion was that this is about yogis who want to achieve Paramatma, but
right.
we want to go, I know we want to go beyond that, but there's no harm in calling to Paramatma within ourselves.
There can't be any harm because Paramatma is expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you're linking with Paramatma, you're linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So
we shouldn't stop there. We want to go progress into a bhakta stage. I understand. Yeah. Okay.
No, thank you for sharing that. You're very interesting. Another thing you mentioned before was he continued. So he saw the establishment of Yudhishthir's rule.
No, what I want was Bhishmadev. How long after, when he was on the Banshaya, how long did he stay after the battle of Bhishmadev?
Oh, maybe a few months or something. After he was on the bed of arrows. Yeah?
Yes, and after the battle of Kurukshetra was over.
Yeah, I think he stayed on for some time until the sun came to the northern hemisphere.
Finished in December, and on January the 14th, which is the Uttara, in our calendar, English, our calendar.
Yeah, and 5,000 years ago, those timings might. Good. Okay.
Yeah,
So, Surinder, anything?
you're right. Gaura Haribol. Yes, Prabhu. Sri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gaura Javasis, Nanda
Yes.
Maharaj, Yashodamai, and the gopis,
Yes.
including Srimati Radharani, time of eclipse. And all this, there is a statement from Srimati Radharani that she wanted to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. And this Ratha Yatra festival, it depicts this Srimati Radharani's mood and wish to take Shri Krishna back to Vrindavan. So in Prem Dham Devastotram, we have one verse like that. Shri Rathagra Bhakta Gita Divya Nartana Adbhutam Yatri Patra Mitra Rudra Rajari Chamadkritam Gundicha Gamadi Tadva Rupaka Vyasancharam Prema Dham Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram Prema Dham Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram. Surrounded by innumerable devotees, Lord Gaurasundara displayed his divine and wonderful dancing figure in front of the Theatra cart while performing congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names. The Lord's personality totally charmed the hearts of Pratap King. The Lord also revealed the inner purport of Lord Jagannatha's mentioned the verse by Srila Rupa Goswami as follows. Priyaso yam Tatapi anta khelan madhura murali panchama juse mano me kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihayati. Oh my dear friend, this is a statement originally by Srimati Radharani as follows. Oh my dear friend, now I am at last reunited with my most beloved Krishna in Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani and he is the same Krishna. We are enjoying our meeting, but still I wish to return to the banks of the Kalindi, where I could hear the sweet melody of his flute sounding the fifth note beneath the trees of the Vrindavan forest. The divine form of Krishna Prema, Krishna Prema. Her Mataji was explaining about Paramatma. So in Brahma Samhita, Vilochanena Santah Sadaiva Hridayesu Vilokayanti Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So we understand that the devotees they see Swayam Bhagwan Krishna manifest as Vishnu form. Vishnu, Garbhodaksa Vishnu, and Kshirodaksa Vishnu.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Kshirodaksa Vishnu. And for the yogis, they connect with the Vishnu form and they meditate in the Vishnu form. To the bhaktas, they see Shyam Sundar Krishna within their heart. Shyam Sundar Shri Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna, and therefore they see within their heart Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna. It says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is a source of Paramatma and Brahma Jyoti, etc. And manifest in our heart if we humbly pray to him. Who came across Kunti Devi's conversation with Vasudeva. Prayer, which I highly recommend, that we all can to lotus flower, and the prayer is as follows: Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. So Lord Krishna's navel is like a lotus flower, lotus petal, and he wears a garland of lotuses, and his eyes are like lotus flower or lotus petals, and he has marks, the design of lotuses in his soles. Therefore, in this way, we can meditate. The most important thing is to always remember Krishna and never to forget him. Is our aspiration, and Sudhanam we shall chant. This is our prayer. Nitai Gaur.
Madhusudan, like to share instructions?
Yeah, this is, yeah. EJ chapter 82, then we get to learn about how Krishna reciprocates in relationships with all different personalities who came to Kurukshetra at this auspicious time. So we see that it's an auspicious time, it's a solar eclipse, and then so many different personalities had come, you know, the king, and this incident, as you said, you know, is actually like chronologically, but they had all got together before that. The Yadus, the Rishnis, Krishna's so-called parents, actually, Krishna doesn't have any parents, because he never takes birth. He's always transcendental. With Gita, you know, my birth is transcendental, divyam. So you don't need to return back in this the cycle of birth and death. So Krishna is fears. He doesn't have birth, but he does take on parents in their relationship. Rasas. But so we realize that, you know, although there are so bhavas that they had, you know, even at this particular meeting. But eventually this chapter leads us to this meeting of the gopis of Vraj, who had come with the Vrajvasis and with Krishna, and how they embrace him even mentally. So when the gopis see Krishna, and when they appears, also Krishna is doing the within their heart. They still embrace him, and Krishna as well. So as Prabhu just read in that Brahma Samhita verse also, this verse is in there in Bhagavatam, the last, I think the last one. whose navel is just like a lotus flower. For those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence, your feet great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are ordinary. So gopis are praying like that we engage in our soul affairs, that, you know, may these, and Prabhu navel is like a lotus and a lotus flower, and his lotus feet. So this is how gopis are praying as well in this particular verse. So Krishna reciprocates amazingly, you know. So our prayers, like Prabhuji mentioned as well, that, you know, even Kunti's prayer was very similar to something like this. So he said we should learn that verse. Maybe you should tell us where that Kunti Devi's prayer is, so that we can memorize it or learn it at least and study it. So may our prayers be like those of the gopis. Jai Haribol.
Prabhuji, Nabi Prabhu. Surendra Prabhuji.
Haribol, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I was asking if that prayer can be put in our group, please.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Surendra Prabhuji.
Yeah, Surendra Prabhu. Yeah, the two prayers that.
Yes, yeah.
That should be good actually. But like it says here, you know, the mystic yogis and the philosophers, the jnanis, actually, when they meditate, they only get a partial realization of Paramatma. Because full realization is, you know, the threefold Bhagavan, you know, Brahma, Prajyoti, Brahma, and then so as it says, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan, iti, Sabhyate, or something like that. So sometimes jnanis get confused, or rather they get, it says in the purport, it's somewhere that, you know, it kind of disturbs them, but the gopis, or Krishna actually tells the gopis that in your previous births, you've already been jnanis and you've already got this knowledge of Paramatma and all that, you know, different Vishnus and all that. But now you're, you know, gopis were far more advanced in their Krishna consciousness than the jnanis and the mystic yogis. Jai Haribol, Hare Krishna. I think Prabhuji is
On the phone, I think, perhaps.
I think it's muted.
Isn't? I think he may be on the phone.
Hare Krishna. No, I was on the phone. Sorry about that. Yeah. Somebody from
Probably you are
Sri
banned, actually. Probably you are banned.
and he's finally called at the wrong time. No problem. Okay. So, so tomorrow we'll do chapter 83. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.